good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, no, it sounds good.
Just move my volume a little bit. Can you say something else, Mike?
Yeah, I'll just rant here. Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Cool, cool. Hey, thank you for coming on, man.
No, dude, I appreciate the invitation. So,
No, this,
especially after I saw the email. I know you saw my story that I posted.
yeah,
So yeah, no, it's cool to do it.
that's awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I mean, I've been a supporter and fan for a long time, and yeah, it's really cool to have you on here. I'm super stoked.
No, I appreciate it. Who else do you is anybody else going to be joining with us?
Yeah, so we got kind of a crew going on. Chris Pintano,
Oh yeah,
he's
okay.
on
Yeah.
here. Uh, do you know Dougie Flex on Instagram? Doug
Yes. Yeah,
Connors? Yep.
he's the 212 competitor.
Yes.
Works
Yep.
with Morgan Rice. Yes, okay.
Yes. Yep. He'll be on. Luke Pritchard. He's a
Okay.
good up and comer. Um, he's on here. I think he's coming on, and Brendan McLaughlin. He'll be. I think that's everybody who'll be on tonight. So kind of a
Oh,
full house.
nice. How long does it usually go for?
I mean, we usually, honestly, like we usually just like talk about some, news that's going on, and we kind of bullshit for like usually it's like an hour and a half.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But anytime,
Awesome.
like if you got to go do something, by all means, it's fine.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I should be good till like 9:30, but if she doesn't need me for anything, I'm good to keep going. So
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you just kicked the flu recently? Was it the flu?
dude, it's still going on.
Really?
There's some sort of virus going around. So it really started 3 weeks ago. I lost hearing in my left ear
No
3 weeks
way.
ago. So I went to the doctor. They cleaned it out. They're like, "There's nothing in there." I'm like, "I can't hear out of my ear." So I didn't think anything of it. And then 2 weeks ago, I get hit with a fever, mucus, coughing, that whole thing. Last week was horrible. So and just exhausted. So going through this week, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little better. And then it's like I'm still exhausted. The cough is dying down today, though.
Yeah.
I'm barely coughing now. I'm just completely exhausted. But the mucus is starting to clear
Yeah.
up, though. So apparently there's something going on around here. I mean, people in the gym, people down here are sick for like 3 weeks at a time.
Yo, yep.
So yeah,
Where
it's been rough.
where are you? Where are you right now? Where are you based out of?
Boca, Florida.
Boca. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
you got that nice weather.
Yeah, year round.
I'm so jealous. I mean, living up here in Maine in the Northeast, like the older I get, the less I'm like it's worth it. Like it's not worth. I don't have to live here. Like that's the mantra in my head lately.
Dude, well, I had that in my head about living in New York. I was in Brooklyn. I moved 10 days before COVID to Vegas. I lived in Vegas for 3 years. I moved here 2 years ago. But when I was in New York, I was like, why am I even still here?
Yeah,
I'm like,
dude.
let me move away. I'll go to Vegas. I'll try to make a comeback into bodybuilding. But yeah, I didn't want to deal with the snow anymore. I didn't want to deal with the cold.
It's brutal. Like in every year, it just feels like a burden. You know, when you're a kid, like snow's cool. Snow's cool when you're a kid.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, snow's just a pain in
No,
the ass.
you got to shovel it. You have to deal with it. No, I
Yeah.
don't ever want to have to deal with that for the rest of my life. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
here.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, we've been talking about it. Like we went. We've gone to Tampa now, and we really like the Tampa area. Um, we like Virginia as well too. So just pretty much anywhere south of here that's warmer is like
Yeah.
kind of on the radar.
Virginia is still going to get snow, though. Not as
It's true.
much,
Yeah.
but, Florida, you can't go wrong with. And Tampa's nice, too. I mean,
Yeah.
South Florida is very expensive, that I have
Yeah.
to say. But Tampa is beautiful. I mean, the cost of Florida is still going up because everybody's still coming here since 2020. I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere it's getting more expensive, but you can't go wrong with Tampa.
Yeah. Tampa was really fun. Nice area. Pretty good gyms.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Yeah, there's tons
Yeah.
of gyms there.
Yeah.
Tons of gyms.
No, it's nice. Yeah, so what's been going on in life lately?
I mean, a lot getting married in April.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, just training. When I stopped bodybuilding, I actually got into jujitsu, and then it turned into because I wanted a reason to get smaller,
Yeah.
and something separate from my coaching. And then it turned into wrestling and Muay Thai. So that's basically what I do now for me. You know, I've
Nice.
competed in jujitsu. I do my MMA training. But other than that, dude, just training and just coaching. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
nice. So you said you've competed in jujitsu a couple times. Like, is the
Twice.
is the end goal like an MMA fight, or are you just happy competing like in jujitsu, gi, no gi?
Oh,
What's
so it's no gi, but the ultimate goal has been MMA this whole time.
okay?
But I have to stop getting sick because
Yeah,
it's every few months, which
yeah,
we've come to the conclusion that I also do overtrain quite a bit, which I'm still 240 something pounds. So it's a lot of my body. So once I'm fully healed up from this, we're going to cut everything down and just stick with that for a bit. Cause, you know, this has been like when I first started, I didn't know I didn't really think that you could really overtrain with this. So I was training like twice a day. I kept getting these staph infections. I'm a very clean person, and the antibiotics and that destroyed my immune system for this was a couple years ago. And for the past year, though, but I mean, since COVID, I haven't been the same, and had mercury poisoning. That's why I stopped bodybuilding.
yeah,
So my immune system isn't the best to begin with. So if I do get overtrained, my immune system takes a hit, and I'm more susceptible to infections and getting sick. So once I'm in the clear of that after a few months, then it's like, okay, you know, we
yeah,
could fight. I had a fight picked out two. One was February 22nd, January 23rd. It was a kickboxing tournament. They canceled the whole card. And then there was supposed to be one February 23rd, MMA in Ohio. We were talking about in December. And after like 3 weeks, I remember calling the promoter. I'm like, did you ever find me an opponent? He goes, oh, I honestly forgot. Let me talk to the rest of the promoters tomorrow. And I was like, oh, forget that. I'm going to travel all the way to Ohio. And then I kind of got sick in January. And then here I am again. So everything happens for a reason, though.
that's right. That's right, man. Yeah, that will be really cool though. I mean, that the transition post bodybuilding is like so daunting, but also it seems relieving at the same time. I mean, like, because as much as I guess we don't like to say or make it an identity, at least I don't personally, it
Smart.
is it is kind of an identity. It becomes you in who you are. And I imagine the transition out of it had to be a little tough to some degree.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was more prepared for it because of Flex. We were training together in Vegas. And he was walking away at the same time. And he sat down with me and he said, listen, what are the pros of you still doing this and what are the cons? And the cons outweighed the pros, so that helped a ton. But also still to let go of never getting to the Arnold Classic, never getting to do Olympia, or winning a pro show. That was tough for a while, you know. But when I walked into that MMA gym in Vegas the first day and I did jujitsu, I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I suck. I'm way too big for I was 290 pounds. I was like, I felt like I was 15 again walking into a bodybuilding gym.
Yeah,
So I'm like, wow, okay, I want to get good at this. But in order for me to get good at this, I have to get smaller. But also, too, in the process, it helped me elevate myself as a coach to just be a better coach to all my guys. And the last few years, everything kind of, you know, went on a upwards trend big time. So that's the thing I tell guys too. Like when I was, you know, trying to come back, fighting against all the issues I had, you know, like you said, it is your identity. I remember posting it on my story once. There's some sort of rant I did and I said, I basically bodybuilding is me. And somebody I met at Flex's gym, very successful guy, he wrote to me, he goes, Dom, he goes, no, it's not. You are you because of you.
yeah,
One day that won't exist. And sooner than later, and it did come sooner than later, that happened. I was like, oh my God, he was right. And that's why I try to tell guys, like, listen, like, love what you're doing, enjoy every moment of it, because before you know it, and the time will come,
yeah,
you won't be able to bodybuild anymore. And the
yeah,
time will come, you won't be able to have that same muscle anymore. And you know, as you know, you see the guys that get so caught up, they don't know when to call it quits. And then God forbid, you know, kidney failure, heart failure, you know, it's
yeah,
all a very real thing. So I
yeah,
think it's important to have other things outside of bodybuilding that you love. And then when you know the time's coming, like, all right, let me figure out a better transition from this, you know?
yeah, for sure. And I think an exit strategy, an exit plan, having other ambitions, other
Yeah.
things that you enjoy out of life is important. I can agree with that completely. I think having a timeline too, like sometimes I feel like it's just in people's heads, I'm just going to go till I can't. And I don't necessarily think that's the best. I mean, teach their own. But I don't always think that's the best strategy. Maybe, have like for me, it's like, at 40, it's like I'm calling it quits. Just,
Mhm.
what I've accomplished is what I've accomplished, but that's the time frame I've given myself to be the best I can be at this. And yeah, by then I will have an exit strategy.
That's smart. How old are you now?
I'm 35.
Oh, you're 35. You competing
Yep.
this year?
Yes, I am. Rookie season.
Yeah, that's right. What show?
Yeah.
You know what shows you're doing yet?
I'm doing Tampa in Texas.
Very nice.
So
Cool. The
yeah,
big ones.
very excited. Very excited.
Do
Yeah.
you work with yourself or you work with a coach?
I do work with a coach. Yes,
You
yes.
do.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can shoot you a text who it is. I
Oh,
just
okay. Yeah, I'm
can't tell you.
curious.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yep. But shoot, I guess we were just going back and forth for a little while, but I guess we'll officially start the pod now. If
Oh,
you'd like
okay,
to,
cool.
yeah,
My bad,
yeah,
I
just
ranted.
yeah. I'll just if you want to introduce yourself and kind of your role in the space and what you got going on.
Uh, just tell me when to start.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
because
just go for it. Okay.
I'm gonna keep this all in.
Yeah, so Dom Cardone, IFBB on IG. Nobody's official without the IG name. At least these days. But I walked, as we were just talking about before the podcast started. I officially walked away from competing 2022. The last I competed was 2016. It was a New York Pro. It was a disastrous prep. My mom was going through cancer. She passed away, and I kind of went off the deep end for a bit after that show. And it was 2020. I moved out to Vegas. I said, okay, time for my comeback. I had some health issues that nobody could figure out, and it turned out to be mercury poisoning. And once I went through that treatment, I just still wasn't the same. I couldn't handle the gear the same. I couldn't handle the body weight. Walked away and got into training for MMA, but also my coaching was I've been coaching for a long time. But when I walked away, I set short-term and long-term goals for my coaching, and I far surpassed every single one of them within that year. So now I just focus on coaching my guys. I have no ambitions of ever being big again, competing ever again. I did it since I was 16. I got to be around all the best guys, thank God, and have all the best mentors. But that's where I'm at today.
That's very cool. Hey, Brendan, what's up? What's happening?
What's going on? Dom, nice to meet you, man.
Hey, good to meet you too, Brendan.
This is kind of how we do it. People just drop in and it's kind of free flowing. It's not the most professional thing you'll ever see. I'll tell you that.
No, listen, it works. And then things just come off the rip, and usually it's better like that, right?
For sure. So you turned pro super, super young. What 21? Was it? Were you 21?
Yeah, I was 21. It was 2014 Nationals.
Okay.
Yeah, heavyweight class.
And how many amateur shows did you do prior to that? When did you start competing?
I first competed, I was 16. 16 Metropolitans, 18 Eastern USA, 19 Team Nationals, 21 I did the Eastern USA. So I had 4 amateur shows, and then I did the Nationals and turned pro, and then I had the New York Pro, which is my only pro show.
Yep. So that's a one national show. That's a quick rise to a pro status.
And you remember how we were talking about timelines and stuff?
Yeah.
None of that was in my timeline. I wanted to compete in a junior national show by the time I was 25. And then
Really?
hopefully do the nationals. Yeah, well, back then, you remember the junior USA's, junior nationals were big shows, and you would usually graduate up from that, at least from before that. I know things have changed a little bit. I didn't even plan to go to nationals that year. It was Chad who was like, "You should really go do nationals in 2 weeks." So I'm like, "Okay." I didn't really expect to win or anything. I was like, "I'll just go there and do my best." So no, none of it went to the timelines I planned, but obviously, better than what I had planned.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And was it Chad Nichols that was coaching you in the amateur ranks?
So I actually worked with a few coaches. My first coach was Fakir Mubarak when I was 16, and then I worked with George Farrow when I was 18, and then Oscar Arden for Teen Nationals. Me and Oscar were actually very good friends. He was a very big mentor of mine. And then when I did the Nationals, it was Chad Nichols. So,
Okay.
but me and Oscar always stood in. He's where I learned most of my training philosophies from.
Gotcha. What's up, gentlemen?
Hey,
What's up, guys?
How's everybody doing? My
Good,
apologies,
good.
I'm a little late, and I'll probably cut a little early because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Is it-
You
tired.
look it.
Thank you.
Prep tired, prep
Yeah.
hitting.
Yeah, today was leg day, man. Morgan kicked my ass, bro. I be feeling like he don't like me on leg days.
Doug, I can hear the tiredness in your voice.
Oh man, yeah, but no, it's always a blessing to be on here, man, and welcome, good brother Dom. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Yes,
good to meet you, brother. Thank you.
yeah,
What's up,
for sure.
Chris?
What's up, guys?
Doug, how many
Chris,
weeks out are you?
Huh?
9. I'm doing the pit power. I'm gonna do
Okay,
my
nice.
open debut. I'm gonna get on stage in front of, in my hometown. It's crazy. I started bodybuilding 10 years ago. I can't even believe I strung 10 years together. It turned pro and all the things that I've done, you know what I'm saying? But really getting ready for Chicago or New York right after that in Masters Olympia in August. I qualified for that.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I feel like I got a really good shot at that, provided who shows up. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I understand the sport of bodybuilding very well, but just to have opportunity to do the things that I do is a blessing. You know what I mean? So I'm just appreciative, and I'm excited. I turned pro with Marty. I turned pro with Nick Walker. You know what I'm saying? Like, and which is crazy. I still can't believe it. I beat Eric Walker for my pro card in 2020 in the light heavy division. You know what I'm saying? They're all doing it as well. So just to be able to get on stage with those guys again and put on a good showing, I'm excited for that.
absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, sweet.
the show looks super, super deep.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, shit.
Yes. So
Who is it? Right now, it's like
they're turning it into they want it to be an expo, just like how the Arnold is, the what is it, the LA Expo, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like this is a big deal, you know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, first place in the open gets 100,000. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Pretty big
it's
purse for that show.
yeah, so
Mhm.
Access Sledge put up they're also sponsored with them along with a bunch of others as well. I'm not familiar with all of them, but yeah, man, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like one avenue of it sucks, you know what I'm saying? Because they got rid of the Mr. Pittsburgh competition. That's originally what it was, and it was an amateur show for the amateurs, and they would bring in the open guys and open guys with guest pose. I'm sure you guys remember the year Sean Roden came and the internet fried
Oh, I
him.
was there for that.
Yep.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That was in Pittsburgh. I was
Yeah.
there that day. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't think anything of it. People who don't understand the sport don't really understand, the ins and outs, the pros and the cons. You know what I'm saying? But they
Yeah,
got
well,
rid of it.
people fried Nick last year for what he looked like. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you not understand fucking bodybuilding. You're 5 or 6
No.
meals. He's like 5
Yeah.
meals deep and like 4 liters of water deep. Like, what the fuck did you expect him to look like?
Dude, no
Yeah.
one forgets back in the day when like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, Dorian Yates, Lee Priest, those guys guest pose. I mean, they were husky. They were
Yeah.
hefty on
Yes.
stage.
Especially
It's
Insane.
funny.
Lee Priest didn't give a fuck. He'd tell you, I'm gonna eat all my food and some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is back then. The problem is back then there wasn't
Yeah.
any social media, so there wasn't like
Yeah.
anyone to
True.
fucking gossip. Now
Yeah.
people all they do is gossip, and it's like
Yeah.
if you know fucking bodybuilding, you know that he's not going to look like that a couple weeks later at the New York
No.
Pro. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
get a fucking grip.
Yeah.
That's actually, it's funny you say that. So Dom, so I've been in bodybuilding since 2013, you longer than that. And I don't know if a lot of people know, Dom used to be on a podcast. I won't speak about the other person that was on the podcast, but it was called East Coast Pros. And it was a fantastic podcast. And one of the first, everybody always says Fuad, was the first big one, but there were some out there if you were paying attention to bodybuilding podcasts. But one thing I did want to ask was, what have you seen change the most in bodybuilding from the time you turned pro until now? Like, obviously, we came into a social media era.
Mhm.
and bodybuilding's blown up in popularity like nobody's business. But what are the biggest changes you've seen or that you can think of?
Well, right off the top of my head, like you just said, the gossip. I mean, the
Yeah.
drama. I mean, there's always been, we always had forums, but
Mhm.
people would talk about legitimate beefs, and some people would, pick at the physiques. But it's like the focus has gone from the competitors more to like the drama, and it's almost like washwoman drama is like what I call it. I said, why are we even talking about some of these scenarios of where people are even saying like it's just fight each other or something at that point? Like it just why are we even entertaining this? So it's like I don't know, like a lot of TMZ type things come from this now. Here's the quality of the competitors. I mean, of course, we have all these new classes, classic and physique and such and so forth. But I remember going to my first show in 2008 to watch the Eastern USA. The super heavyweight class was, I mean, the entire place would be packed just to watch the amateur super heavies at these shows, and these guys were just, I mean, they look like open level pros. And throughout the years, definitely that mass monsters have kind of, gone down, especially in the amateur ranks and the national level ranks. I mean, national shows are still great, but they're very hit or miss now too. I mean, USA's last year was good, but I expected a lot more from the USA. So definitely the quality of competitors as well as a whole. And I do believe, of course, social media plays a big part in all that. There's the other classes have taken away from that. So now you have these younger guys who may feel classic is more appealing to them or physique, and they'll go for that, and it'll actually limit them in a way. Of course, not everybody is going to be destined to be a great open bodybuilder or 212 bodybuilder, but at least at the national level stage. So you have these guys spending years in these classes, and it does limit them. I mean, when all you guys were younger, did you want to be classic pros or physique pros?
It was always
No,
Bodybuilding.
no.
around.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? So you looked up to the mass monster. You did everything you could to try to achieve that status and become that guy. And we went from Jay Cutler and Dorian and Ronnie and Phil Heath to, I'm not bashing Sam Sulik in any way, to Sam Sulik's being the idol for the young guys, or a special physique guy, and you want to become what's right in front of you. So I definitely think those are some of the biggest changes I've seen, at least in a general aspect.
I agree with that. I also think that men's physique and a lot of the classic looks now, I feel that a lot of the younger kids that are getting into the sport, they feel like that is a physique that's a little bit easier attainable as opposed to being someone, who's 270, 280, 300 plus pounds in an off season.
True.
I don't want to get too like weirdly social political, but do you think that some of the reasons guys don't want to be big is because like it's not cool to be manly anymore?
You know what? That probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure that it has something to do with it. But let's be honest too. My coach always says that the one bad thing about social media today is that we have a generation of kids who realize that they don't have to bodybuild anymore, and they have the advantage by using social media. There's a lot of people who are scared to compete because we live in a generation where if you lose, you're not good, or you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Like people are afraid to just be themselves at the end of the day, and they don't realize that, like, somebody like a Sam Sulik became popular, but he still has a long road to climb, especially as a professional. Once you become a professional, you just go right to the bottom of the barrel. You know what I'm saying? And you got to work your way up there. Some people's ascent is much higher than others, but you still got to show and prove at the end of the day. And it's very uncomfortable for people to get big. You know what I'm saying? And people don't like that. And they filter down to the classic division and the men's physique. And that's no slight to those divisions at all. But let's be honest too, we saw what C-Bum did in a little bit of time. Imagine what somebody with his physique it does for a 2-year growth period. You know what I'm saying? How you can look on stage, not trying to suck down all the time to meet a certain weight cap. Whereas that bodybuilding in the open, there's no weight cap. Come in however much you weigh. and look the best. That doesn't mean you'll win, because we just saw it at the Arnold. The biggest guy didn't win. You know what I'm saying? Does being the biggest guy help? Absolutely. But it's still a bodybuilding competition at the end of the day, and people scared to lose. Everybody think they supposed to win. And that kills me too in bodybuilding. It's like, bro, if you got in a bodybuilding to be 10-0, you picked the wrong fucking sport.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You picked the wrong sport, man.
You're gonna lose a lot more than you're gonna win.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look how long it takes, most guys to turn. Even back then, some guys never even got to turn pro. It's a long game. It's a long
Yep.
game, and I think people today again, I'm not sliding classic and physique. Those guys
Yes.
come in incredible shape. Incredible.
Yes.
Sometimes better than a lot of the open guys at some shows in terms of conditioning. But like you said, Doug, they look at it as easily attainable, but they still don't even want to put in the work to attain that. So, and being a big bodybuilder is not easy. Getting ready for a show, in my opinion, is easy. With a good coach, decent genetics, the ability to come in conditioning gear, anybody can do it. But to spend year in, year out for a long period of time doing the same exact thing and pushing the boundaries in the gym with it and everything else,
Man.
it's not easy. It's not.
Hell no. The longevity. Listen, that's why for me, this is a celebration year for me, because when I started this, I had no fucking clue I was going to be doing a bodybuilding show every year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally just was like, man, I'm going to give it a shot. I wanted to stay in the gym. And then in my time, realizing how difficult it really is and how many issues some people go through during the training period. Like, I didn't know C-Bum had all the injuries he had while he was training. You know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, you hear how, Dorian Yates's career ended, that torn tricep. Like, sometimes, man, shit you have no control over happens. You know what I'm saying? And to have a decade plus in the game and be good, that's crazy.
It's interesting. I don't think I've talked to one pro that I'm friends with, or like even some of the top national level guys, where something doesn't hurt on them every day. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They're like, oh, my shoulder hurts, my knee hurts, my hip hurts. Like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
No, Chris, you make a good point, because even when I was younger, I didn't know about any of that. I was young. I was never in pain when you're younger. So I didn't really know about that until I got older. And then when me and Flex started training together years ago, we were both trying to come back. I remember having shoulder injuries, this, that. And I'm like, and I knew all the injuries he had, which has been public about it. When he was competing, he never spoke about it. Elbows, shoulders, knees. And I think it was 27, 28 at the time. He's like, Dom, he's like, you're getting old. He goes, everybody deals with the same thing. He's like, I promise you. He goes, everybody's dealing with the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not true. It's not. I was in total denial, but it is true. And Chris, you bring up a very good point, because then when I get the athletes that I coach and they're upset that they tweaked it and they're older, these aren't the youngest guys. They tweaked their shoulder, maybe this happened. I'm like, listen, it's a part of it. You're training hard. You're doing unnatural things to your body. These things are probably going to happen. Of course, you want to do everything in your power to avoid it with the therapy and chiropractic work and all that good stuff, mobility, whatever it is. You're still prone to it, no matter what you do.
And that's
you just have to work around it.
Yeah,
exactly.
What happens is one thing I like, when you start putting on muscle really quick, and you don't step on your stretching and mobility, everything starts to pull everything a little different. And it changes range of motion sometimes. Like, some people can't back squat anymore. It's part of the game. Like, you're gonna get bigger, you're gonna feel a lot tighter everywhere.
That's why it's uncomfortable.
If there was one thing I could tell my younger self, it would have been to get on top of soft tissue work earlier.
Yes, and stretching.
It's it's part of my weekly routine now, soft tissue work and stretching, but it's like maintenance now, right? It's not necessarily making anything better. It's just allowing me to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Bro,
It
the
sucks.
worst. Remember when Luke said his heart rate goes to 120 trying to put his socks on?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, people
Thought that
don't
shit this morning.
understand that. Like, bro, I done had days where I reached down to grab the bottom of my sweatpant to pull my leg up because I can't reach my fucking
You can't
leg.
reach.
Hell yeah.
Do any of you guys I don't know like how much your training has changed as you've gotten older, but I think I've spoke about this before. I'm going through a weird transition of like feeling not me in the gym. In the gym isn't as fun because I've always been like the guy who like goes in there, not necessarily angry, but I'm just hyped to move as much weight as I can. And now my workouts are a lot more coordinated and they're a lot more, focused on a very certain thing. And I don't feel like Billy Badass when I go in there anymore. You know what I mean? And it's been a strange, weird transition to realize that like, no, this is the most efficient, effective training for you now. You're not that dude anymore.
I have been struggling with what you just said the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Jacoby changed your workouts. You were talking about that.
Well, yeah, I Mike changed my workouts a little bit, and and then Jacoby gave me his training routine, and I'm just like, it's been working. I've been progressing, like it's great. It's still like similar methods how I've trained, but with me, if I'm trying to beat the logbook, there does come a point in that training where like looking at that notebook just stresses me out, and I just want to just fuck off and just do something one day and train a little intuitively, which is actually what I did today. I'm just like, I'm gonna go train and just do whatever. Just pick the different exercises. It's kind of it's difficult because for the longest time I'm like, oh, am I just like losing like that fire for it? But then it's just like, everything's like so regimented. And sometimes I'm just like, it is the training is very boring. It's very redundant. It's repetitive. So today I was just like, you know what? Like I haven't done an arm day in a while. I'm going to do arms tonight and, just pick 3 exercises for each, still do like my standard, top set, back off set. And I had an awesome workout and I'm actually in a really good mood now from that. So I really understand what you're saying because I have been struggling with that the last 2 months.
I think changing it up is important. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like saying like get away from like what you normally do, but like every now and then, it's probably good to like improvise and go in there and change it up, and just for a night or two to get like a little bit of mental clarity from it, if it's going to help you, especially.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point with like the mental clarity. Like Chris, look at how you feel right now. I mean, you think of when me and Flex are training. I mean, could we have trained smarter? Absolutely, but we just wanted to go in and rip it as hard as we can. But even when I was bodybuilding, and we never really followed a logbook. Like even with training with Oscar, do we follow the same training split for 6-7 months at a time? Yes, we had our core movements, barbell squat, all that good stuff. But it still got me pumped to go in there, and I feel like you never really want to lose that fire either. Yeah, sure. Could it be working, or let's say the workout you had today, is that actually more productive? Are you having a more productive workout going in there, like excited, feeling good for it, and then look how you feel after? You had a great pump, you feel good. Like mentally, I think that plays a part too in a guy's workouts. Like even like with my MMA training now, I don't really lift weights anymore, but I go in there, I'm like, okay, I know we're going to do a lot of the same stuff, but it's what works. And it's never set in stone. It can't be set in stone because mid-workout, whatever we're doing, it could change. And for me, it's like if I go in there knowing I'm going to enjoy, and some days, listen, let's be real, you may not even want to train. Motivation is an up and down thing. But it's like if you're going there mentally and you're feeling good after, I think that the mental side of that plays a big part in how people progress as well. Because like he just said, the mental clarity from it and feeling a certain way and feeling good rather than I feel like a robot. Did you really get everything out of your workout today? Feeling like a robot in a way too? I mean, you could still train smart, but if that makes sense.
My big thing is like, if I'm supposed to, if like I do like 1 leg day a week and I'm like, my first like major quad movement is a hack squat. And I go in there and I'm like, I start warming up with hack squats. And for some reason that day, I'm just not feeling the connection to it, which happens, I think, to all of us from time to time. It's like, okay, like I actually don't want to break the plan, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I could change and use like a pendulum or something like that to get a better feeling just because I'm not feeling the hack squat today.
Well, is your body like Oscar used to tell me? I quote him a lot because I learned so much from him back then. He's like, your body doesn't know what day of the week it is.
No.
If you go in the gym and you feel off, your body's telling you to take off. Maybe I should take off today. Or if you start, I mean, there were workouts we would start. It would be like, no, it's not working. Sometimes we go back, stop, and go back later in the day and try again, or we would change, and it would turn out to be the best workout ever. You know, rather than just trying to again robot through it. And it's like, all right, this is a good workout. Maybe next week will be better. It's like pivot. You know, we're not. You know, you're getting old. Everybody's getting older. So if you have to pivot, you pivot. The body isn't the same every day. It's not a machine.
No.
So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
Dom, how do you feel about like, so obviously it's different age groups, but like obviously you're speaking about like your rise to pro status in bodybuilding. Has it been a harder learning curve in MMA and jiu-jitsu than it was, let's say, just progressing in bodybuilding?
I would say this, bodybuilding was a lot easier to me. Very. It was, I think back, it was a walk in the park to me compared to this. Well, number one, you had the trend. When I first started in 2022, I was 290 pounds, 295 pounds.
Wow.
So that I couldn't last 5 seconds on the mats back then, but that's why I loved it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get small. I'm going to get good at this. So it was a transition period of going from a bodybuilder to an athlete. And it took a while. And of course, it's still going. But it's definitely, and plus two, there's a lot of moving parts to it. Bodybuilding, you know, you have the training, you find out what's your training, diet, your supplements, you rest. Being able to look back, it's very simple compared to, you know, MMA. You have wrestling, you have Muay Thai, you have kickboxing, you have boxing, you have jiu-jitsu. You have to put all this together. You have to try to combine them in the week. You have the skills you have the skill training on top of it, and then having to put it all together. So, you know,
and you don't get punched in the face in bodybuilding, you know what I'm saying?
And that too, yeah. And that
get
too,
punched in the face,
and that too. It's a little bit of different pain. So it's definitely a very big transition. But again, I loved when I first got into it. I'm like, okay, this is the challenge I want. It's something separate from my coaching that'll keep me passionate in the industry, and it was just for me. But again, like anything, you know, I wanted to be able to start at the bottom of something. And at times I do get frustrated. I'm like, fuck, why isn't this moving faster? And me and my fiance were just having this conversation last night because me and Mike were talking before. I have immune system problems from my mercury poisoning. So I get overtrained very easy with this. And even she was like, listen, she was like, I know you get, you know, frustrated. She's like, but you have to realize this isn't going to happen as quick as it did for bodybuilding for you. And I'm like, yes, you're right. So yeah, it's not as easy.
Have you had what moment has been the most humbling, or do you have a moment in your head where you're like, fuck, that was humbling as fuck?
Honestly, the cardio aspect of it was humbling right off the bat, and it still is to this day. But the first day I walked into the gym, I already knew I was going to be much bigger than everybody else. Let me walk in here. I remember walking up to Dennis Davis, who was my coach at the time in Vegas. I said, hey, Eric sent me. I go, I just stopped bodybuilding. I'm here to learn. I don't know anything. And I went in there knowing I was going to get fucked up. And it still happens. And it still happens to this day. It's always going to happen on some days. So was it humbling? Yes. But also, too, I knew what I was getting myself into, you know?
That's where some people make the mistake. They go into, I deliver to this kid, and he's a younger kid, and he does MMA, and he weighs like 140 pounds soaking wet, but that kid can fight like a motherfucker. Yeah. And the thing, like, it's something like MMA is something I want to get involved in after I'm done with bodybuilding. And the mindset of like people going in there, like people probably looked at you and was like, oh, here comes this 295 pound guy, probably thinks he can kick the shit out of anyone.
Yep.
Where you went in there as like, this is a respecting, I need to learn. Everything comes just like it did in bodybuilding in steps and stages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key. You can't go in there at 290 and be like, hey, I'm going to master this. Hell no. It's way harder than you think it is.
Your joint's not going to move that way.
No, I couldn't.
What do you weigh right now?
That's what I was going to
243.
ask.
Oh, that's a big
243.
difference between
That's-
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and it
50
took
pounds.
a while for me to get down too. It went from 290 to 280. It stood there for a bit. Then it was and that was a 260 for the longest, and then it was the 250s. I've stabilized in the 240s for a bit. But it took a while.
How tall are you?
5'9".
Oh, so you're so shit. So you would be fighting tall motherfuckers. You be fighting tall motherfuckers.
And I don't have a choice because they're like, there's no
Yeah.
reason for you to be pushing to make 205. So
Yeah.
when I do spar, it's mainly, with the taller guys that are longer. So am I at a disadvantage? Oh my God, it's horrible. It's terrible. And you eat shots trying to get inside. So that's why we kind of, make the game plan to fit with those
Yeah.
taller guys. That's why it's very wrestling heavy for me too. But again, just another challenge, right?
It's funny because my coach is getting into it. He just started taking Muay Thai and he's working on himself getting down in weight. And I've done Muay Thai training. I've done boxing training before. I have a lot of respect for the sport. I actually have a cousin who is a professional boxer. He's 5'3", 130 pounds, but he hits like a ton of bricks because he hit me before just playing around sparring. And I felt knuckles in 14-ounce gloves. And most people don't know how thick 14-ounce gloves are. And if I can feel knuckles in 14-ounce gloves, I can only imagine what it would feel like with 8-ounce gloves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have a huge amount of respect for anybody who does any kind of physical combat because 30 seconds feels like 30 minutes. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
and you could say that again. Oh my! People think 45 minutes of cardio is bad on the stair. I think back. I'm like, how the hell did I even think that back then? Like you just said, 30 seconds could feel like hours.
Yep.
And every extra 30 seconds, every extra minute, it adds up very quick.
Yep.
I used to do
Yeah.
Muay Thai and I used to do boxing because my dad and my grandfather were boxers from Brockton. And then I also did jiu-jitsu for a little bit. And when I used to spar, one of the things that sucked is if like you threw like hooks and you missed, like that just tires you out so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there aiming to like go through someone's spine and like they slip the punch or whatever, like and you miss, that just wears you out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's how much output. That output that you give, like you've seen it, especially when you're it's tense. People think like it's just the physical aspect of, but just being there and this other person's hitting you. You're in a fight versus flight mode from beginning to end. You try to be as relaxed. That's just exhausting enough. And then add in the fact that you have to punch or kick or wrestle. It's but again, for the 10th time, that's why I love it. It's hard.
Man, you want to know what's so funny though is I was explaining this to a client today in training. There's two rules that hold in both trainings, right? I remember my first day of boxing training with my boxing coach in high school. And, we're going over trade and jabs. And he kept asking me, why are you so tight? Because I'm squeezing my body together. He was like, you got to learn how to relax. He said, you're holding tension. You're using energy for no reason. You're tiring yourself out. And I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit hard. You know what I'm saying? But that's a skill you have to learn in fighting is learning how to relax and when to tense, when not to tense. And the same thing in lifting weights, not holding tension in certain places where you don't need to be holding tension if you're trying to isolate and build muscle. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you really have to understand those principles in both fields because on the mat, sometimes when you're grappling with somebody, you have to figure out ways to relax yourself to get some more energy to do another move. You know what I'm saying? And you still got to keep yourself at a point where you're in the defensive. And that's a skill that you have to learn. That isn't something that you just know the first day you're in there.
Yeah. Isn't it? I don't know if you guys have it, but I still have moments in training where something just clicks.
Yeah.
Like something that for the last 12, 13 years, I've been like trying to yeah, everybody always says you feel this like this, but I've never felt it. And then one day you have that fucking day and you're like, oh shit, that's what everybody's talking about. I still have those moments. Do any of you guys have those moments
Oh,
where
yeah.
just like something clicks and you're like, oh shit, I haven't been doing that for 10 plus years?
I was doing my friend Jeff was teaching me how he likes to do stiff leg deadlifts on like a Smith machine, where the way you're keeping your hips locked, you're almost pushing the bar down to get that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 4 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then maybe like last year, I was doing those, and I happened to figure out what he meant, and I just felt my hamstrings light up, and I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. 4 years later, and I called him up. I'm like, dude, I figured it out finally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like lifting, it's simple, right? Like, yeah, it's fucking lifting. You lift, you progressively get stronger. But me and Shay were talking the other night, and it's like there are all these nuanced things that you just can't learn until you put the time in. Like these very nuanced ideas in like, you know, like how do you explain to a person that's never done it before, like your 3x10 workout isn't doing anything, right? Like they don't know what failure is. They don't know what a rep past failure is. They don't know.
So Pete, there are people I run it. I wind up training people who still don't know to squeeze their muscles.
Yeah.
When they're training, right? They'll be doing the leg extensions, you know, and you can see there is no control. You can see they're just moving the weight. They have no idea what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I remember that aha moment for me too. Like, I get it now. I want my muscles to feel this tension so that it comes back stronger the next time. You know, learning how to have more control, more time under tension.
Yeah, but that's all that's all part of the journey. But again, that's the putting the years in and years out and realizing nothing is ever going to be perfect. You know, I think that goes with anything that's meant to be at a pace for just years at a time. And like you just said, Mike, I mean, yeah, I think you're going to have a lot more of those moments too for years to come until the day you're done bodybuilding. You know, and just you're open minded to learning. Like you're paying attention to your body, you're trying different things. And you know, like I say, I'd say the day somebody dies is the day they stop learning, and they're not open to new ideas and trying new things. You don't know unless you try. You know, so you know, people, you know, people bash beginners, but they don't know any better. You know, it's somebody's got to teach them, or they're going to figure it out on their own. Either it be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You're always going to have those moments.
I think that's why trying new movements, like generating the same like exercise with trying new movements and like different equipment, because you never know, you might engage better in those certain movements and new exercises than you've ever engaged with some of your muscles before in your life. So if you're closing the book on not doing a certain exercise because you don't think it's going to generate any results, but you've never tried it, well, shame on you. Try the exercise to see if you can actually engage in it better, because you're probably going to get more growth out of it.
You know what I was telling the client earlier? I remember when I first started going in the gym, I used to look at the adductor and the adductor machine, and I'm not doing that dumbass exercise. You know, like I swear to God, I used to always say that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's the bitch machines.
Dumbass exercises. Yeah. So my one homie called it the pee machine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and it's like when you understand that those exercises are necessary, they help with stability, and stop like looking at it from a negative perspective. You know what I'm saying? It's like those became some of my favorite exercises, and especially for like my leg development over the past couple of years, like learning how to like get stronger at those exercises. I like my leg development, you know what I'm saying? But before I was ignorant, you know, I was ignorant to the culture. I didn't really understand, you know, it's like fitness is really its own bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not into it, you're not into it. You know what I'm saying? And like we have our own world. You know, and it's cool because we can have certain conversations like this, and there'll be some people who understand, some people won't understand. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Big Luke?
Howdy, fellas. Sorry I'm late, man. I'm always
No,
late,
you
but sorry I'm
good.
late.
No, yeah, it's all good. We just chopping it up. You know what I'm saying?
You still in Pittsburgh?
I remember when I first started going to the gym when I was 17, I was 120 pounds and didn't know rat shit from Rice Krispies. I'd like see like some guy with like big biceps, and I'd be like, hey, what do you do for biceps? And then I'd try like the stuff that he would recommend. Then I, would see this guy with a big chest and, doing 6 pressing movements in a workout. And I'm like, all right, well, that's not working well for me. I would literally look at everyone that had like decent body parts and I'd just ask what they would do. And then I'd learn from there. And that was kind of like how I got started. There was this one dude that had like the thickest lower back muscles I've ever seen. And I'm like, do you deadlift? And he's like, no. And then looking back at it, the guy just used his lower back for every goddamn movement. It was like a lower back movement. There was some advice I got that was just so wrong.
It's like the overweight. It's like the overweight dads that have the best calves.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I had a friend, Jimmy. He was Asian. He had like 24-inch calves. Like I'm talking like huge, and he didn't even lift. He just walked around.
My friend James, he's Asian too. He lifts, but he's never trained calves, and he's like 160 pounds, and he has the calves of like Mr. Olympia. It's ridiculous.
Born with him, bro.
Yeah.
Born with him. Whole lower body, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm cursed over there. I got them high calves. So
I feel you, bro.
don't matter how my calves. Yeah, they call that the black man curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it, but I'm white, bro. It's not fair.
I remember when I met Jay Cutler when he first dethroned Ronnie, and he was doing like a meet and greet, I think at like Supplement Edge or one of the stores up here in Mass. And I met him and I was like, what do you do for your calves? And he was telling me, he's like, my calves started growing the most when my body weight just started getting up high. He's like, Jay Cutler looked at me, he's like, you look at a fat person that has huge calves because they have to carry that mass around all the time. He's like, I didn't change anything different about my calf training, but as his body weight got higher, his calves just grew. So I'm like, all right, I just need to get bigger then.
Yeah, just get fat as fuck and you're good, bro.
I just get bigger up top, and then I wear shorts, and people are like, "Yo, what the fuck's going on with his body? He got some turkey thighs for legs." Like,
so listen, a couple years ago, I took a picture with Aaron Donald after I got done training him in the shit made Bleacher Report, and of course, I had on basketball shorts.
Oh,
So
no.
it looks like I have no fucking legs. To the point, I see some of my friends arguing with people in the comments section. Like, nah, you gotta see his page. He really does have legs. But when I wear shorts and the shorts come below my knees, I don't look like I got legs. Because my calves is crazy.
I don't have terrible calves, but I refuse to wear low top shoes because I just do not like how they make my calves look. I like mids or high top shoes.
So you have to wear the high top shoes. They always make any calves look better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
low top shoes and shorts are out of the question, boy. Like,
I'm dying right now. That's so crazy. Yo.
Oh man. Dom, have you taken on a lot more MMA clients since you started?
No, I don't take on any.
Okay.
I know. Okay. And people it's fun. People think that, but no, because the nutrition for performance and bodybuilding is completely different, which I've gotten to learn with mistakes I made myself. And even guys get, especially with weight cuts, that's a whole process in its own of dehydrating a fighter and the nutrition behind it, and then loading them up to fight after they were just dehydrated. What was it, the day before, 2 days before? And I'm just not nearly comfortable in that, that realm to take guys on for that. And honestly, really, I'm not there yet. I'm not there mentally. I like focus on my bodybuilders, I like focus on my lifestyle clients, because I would feel very guilty if a guy doesn't make weight because I did something wrong or we do the rehydration wrong. It's a process all on its own. People learn how to peak for bodybuilding shows, but getting ready for fighting with making weights, it's a whole different ballgame.
Process.
I'm sure
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not speaking for you about this, but like if you're doing MMA and that's something you enjoy, the last thing you want to do is go to MMA and like be their coach on the outskirts, because then you can't get the time in that you want to and enjoy yourself. Now
And
he has a fucking job.
And you know what's funny, Brendan? That was the reason why I got into this. It was separate from bodybuilding. It was separate from coaching. I don't post about it. I don't share it with everybody. I'm as active as I can be with it, but it's my thing.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
It's an outlet for you.
Yeah,
Yes, 1,000%. And it's like it's changed
you
my
just
life.
enjoy it. Yeah,
I love it, and it's my time of the day for me, and something that I love to do on the side. And that's it. I love the sport as a whole, but like you just said, when things become a job, it's like, now I have to train, and then you're just around it all the time. And as I get older, I begin to appreciate my things that I have outside of bodybuilding, and these different little things that bring me enjoyment. Yeah, is it hard? Yes, but that's what I'm enjoying doing. So you're absolutely right too. It's just could I make a lot more money getting into that if I learned the whole the whole process behind it? Of course, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
What, like, kind of switching gears, but we always talk about, like, because we all coach people, and last episode we were talking about like some clients that we had that were just problem clients. In your mind, what are the biggest takeaways for somebody listening? What makes somebody a good client versus a shitty client? Like, let's see. Yeah,
a fucking broad question.
No,
yes,
listen,
it is.
Is it broad? Yes, but I think of a lot of scenarios. Okay, so the person has to be coachable, right? And what is a coachable person? Somebody that's open to new ideas, somebody that's willing to listen, somebody that's willing to trust. But with trust, honesty has to come with that. And my saying I have is one of the ultimate forms of respect you could have for somebody is being honest with them. So to say, client to coach, coach to client. You're completely doing somebody a disservice. And in my opinion, which I see it's a fact to me, if you're being not honest with somebody, you're lying to them, then you don't respect them. Why are you working with that person in the first place? So, why would you hire somebody you don't respect? And why would you work with somebody you don't respect? Now, I've had my fair share, and it's never going to end because, human beings are just always going to act like human beings, of people that do whatever they want or people that lie. But I don't comprehend it, because when I used to work with my coaches, I paid them to do a job for me. I respected them. I wanted them to enjoy working with me. I wanted to get the most out of our experience working together. So I followed what they told me to do. I never, ever did anything extra. I went to the extremes, even my contest preps, of never salting my food. Stupid thinking back, but they didn't tell me to in the plan. I didn't take Tylenol on preps because they didn't tell me to. I didn't take pre-workouts. It's extreme, but this is how I was, and it's kind of like how I was raised. So when guys come to me and they pay me a lot of money, and I write out this plan, it doesn't make sense to me why
not to follow
it. And then if something goes wrong, is it my fault?
Yeah, they blame you. That's what they do.
Well, that's the thing. But how could somebody be so open to the idea of not giving something 100% and not giving it a chance? What's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe I'll do really well. Or, maybe we missed the mark. But if I miss the mark, we're going to be able to figure out why. It's a much easier thing. And let's be real too. It's much easier to tell the truth than it is to lie to somebody. And, I've been coaching since I was 16. I had no business coaching when I was 16. My dad wanted to get into weightlifting and then got into bodybuilding a year after. His deal with me was, you're going to coach me and you're going to learn how to be a coach at factory. And remember the conversation. It was at our kitchen counter. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I was also a nerd, kind of. I would sit in my room and study bodybuilding. I'm like, all right, we could. And he did really well. And it was something I did for free for a long time. I would reach out to people and say, hey, I'm just learning. There wasn't really many coaches back then either. I'm like, would you be open to me coaching you? And it turned into a side thing. And eventually it became my career. So I have a lot of experience with seeing different personalities and seeing how people's mind states differ from person to person. And, I've also had close calls with people in their health where it came out that they were doing a lot of other things. And I think back, like, what happens if you die?
Yeah.
You know, or you get kidney failure or you're in heart failure. The coach is going to be blamed
Yeah.
if you're doing these other things.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
100%.
that's what goes on. So how does it not go through somebody's head that, hey, you know, it's not only, you know, my body, but it's also somebody else's reputation on the line. And also too, I know I'm going a little off tangent. I'm going to reel it
No.
back in, but also too, when I was competing, if I did something else and something happened to me, I didn't want that responsibility on them because of something that I did, you know? So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the aspect of, you know, we see guys go from coach to coach and it becomes a pattern throughout times. And it's the same pattern every time. And it's always the
Coaching
coach's
carousel.
fault. It's always the coach's fault. Listen, not every coach is Albert Einstein. No coach or no coach is Jesus Christ. They're not going to get it perfect every single time. Like even with me, I'll use Russ Flanagan as an example. We started working together in 2018 as an amateur. We won a lot of shows and we placed second in a lot of shows too. When he did the Indy Pro 2021, completely bombed out. Completely bombed out. He was
I
like, all right.
remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
I
crazy
remember
thing that
that.
happened the night before the show, but
Yeah.
yeah. But he was like, we're gonna fix this, and then next year, and then 1 year from now, he's like, we're gonna be a totally different person. And I was like, I'm in. And the plan started the next day, and then you know, what was it? A year later, it was
He won the Cal
2022.
Pro.
He won the Cal Pro. So I look
Yeah.
at people
Went
like
to the
him, and he
Olympia.
knows, like, and even look at all the other guys in history too. Like they've stayed stuck with their coach for a long time. They didn't hit every show. Milos
Yeah.
is a great example of that. He didn't hit it every show, but he kept
Yeah.
going. So people seek out perfection, and like we were just talking earlier, winning every time. Winning is awesome.
Yeah.
It's great,
That's what
but
you want.
it's only a loss if
Yeah.
you didn't learn from it,
Facts.
or you know, it's if you didn't give it all your 100%. Then that's really on you if you didn't give it 100%. But
Facts.
at least learn from it. So you know, takeaways for me is like, listen, if you're going to hire somebody, respect them, tell them the truth, listen to what they say, communicate with them. Like I tell my guys, like, listen, even if you feel like it's a waste of my time, I say this to most people. And then there's different personality types where you have to be careful to play therapist too. But I say, listen, the thing you don't communicate with me could be a potential problem. My dad, when I was younger, he had a saying with us: assume and you'll make an ass out of yourself. Don't assume, just ask. If it's on the paper, just follow it. Let's build up this relationship. And that's the way a real coaching relationship works. It's never overnight. It's through time. Chuck, you've been working with Morgan for a while now, right?
2018.
Perfect example. We're going on
Yeah.
7 years. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Now look.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I
people
love
have
that
to.
you're saying this. This is music to my ears because, and it's no knock on anybody else and anybody else's process, but I love hearing that because what people don't understand too is there's some people a monkey could coach and they'll turn pro.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like some people ain't really doing that much special. You know what I'm saying? But it takes for two people to come together, like you said, who respect each other. Like I remember when Morgan became my coach, he was only $75 a month at that time. You know, swear to
Yeah.
God. It was 2018. He was $75 a month. I was scared to go into my third show with no coach. And then I had decided to run gear. I had another coach before that. There was a communication issue. I won't even get into that. But long story short, I remember telling myself when he sent me my meals, I weighed the food and I'm like, oh, no, this ain't going to work. It's too much food. I remember calling him like, yo, this is way too much potatoes, you know, and he's like, no, it's not, Doug. He said, you got to trust me. He said, if you can't keep it 100 with me, I can't help you. And I just remember saying to myself, like, all right, I didn't say this to him, but I said, all right, I paid you. I'm going to do everything you tell me. And when I lose, I'm going to blame you. I remember saying that to myself, right? Because I had to see it through.
Yeah.
Like I had to see it through. I paid him. I trusted him. And I don't trust people like that. I really don't. It's hard for me to trust somebody. And when I won that, he told me, he said, I got good news and bad news after he saw me pose. He said, the bad news is I'm doing the same show. And I'm like, fuck. And then I'm thinking he's trying to sabotage the show and win. I'm, because I don't know nothing about bodybuilding. When I didn't even know that people had coaches. So when I decided to get a coach, people would always say, be careful getting a coach who competes, because sometimes they'll sabotage your show. So when I see him, he gives me more food, then tells me to take 3 days off. I'm like, oh, he's trying to sabotage. I'm like, he don't want me to win. But because I paid, I was like, I'm going to do everything you tell me. And when I lose, I'm going to blame you. So when I won, I said, dude, you could put deer balls on my plan. I'm going to find out where to get deer balls, and I'm going to eat them. I don't give a fuck what you tell me to eat. You know what I'm saying? And over time, we've gelled and built a beautiful relationship, because, like you said, it's been 7 years. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen people bounce from coach to coach, and I don't knock it. Whenever you feel like you need to make an adjustment, make an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like a lot of times people lose and they put the blame on the coach, as opposed to looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, all right, where can I get better? And the person that I lose to, is that a credible person? Like sometimes it's whoever the fuck show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to think I'm a great bodybuilder, but at the end of the day, I ain't one of the best. So when I do a show, I expect to win. But if I don't and I lose to an Olympian, I'm not gonna be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no slight in that. There's no slight in losing to anybody. And it's like you said, as long as you're getting better every time and you're learning from it,
that's right,
and you like doing it, that's why you do it. Do you want to win? Hell yeah, everybody wants to win. You know what I'm saying? But my coach, like, it's just, he just knows what to do with me and my body. I remember him saying that to me backstage. He's like, I can look at you, I know what to do better with you than my own body.
I think so many people are so goddamn quick to blame the coach.
Yeah.
Your example, Dom, I'm sure you saw it last week. Like the girl that passed away at the Arnold's, and people immediately go right online and they start attacking Mahaley. And I'm just like, you don't even know the fucking story. Like, people are like, oh yeah, the coach had her on diuretics. Like, dude, she told her athlete that she was there that she took diuretics without even letting Justin know. Yeah. Like, it's shit like that. Like the open lines of communication with your clients to coach and everything like that. Like, so many people are like so quick fixed to blame like other people, especially when it comes to social media as well. And it's just like, sit back and evaluate yourself before you start doing that shit.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to be negative, and they just
that's the thing.
That's what it is. Like, you will see more stuff on social media with negative shit, and everyone going off in the comments, and the people that are posting it, they just want to, it's that rage bait, that clickbait. They just want the engagement, and you'll have, thousands of comments on there. Everyone's just tearing each other apart. But then if you see like a cool video of like cute cats or something like that, like there's not that many.
It's true.
And you're scrolling down, you're like, oh, what is this? Oh, wow, I'm going in. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
But that's Chris, you brought up a good point. And not to go too off the topic of coaching, like Mike, you said a long time ago, what have I seen change in the industry is the level of negativity. And, again, it's always been there. It's with everything. But now it's who's attacking who, which coach is attacking another coach, listen, people do dumb shit and post on Instagram, sure. But everybody looks for a reason to bring up something negative now. It's like, why are we putting our energy towards these things that at the end of the day will make no difference in our lives when we go to bed at night to being negative? And it's just putting it, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's why, like, I hate social media now. I can't stand it. It's a great thing because, listen, Mike, you messaged me, you got me in the podcast. It brings people together. It keeps friends close, so it does have many great, I run my business from it. But the negativity that it brings on, bodybuilders, it's in the bodybuilding industry is quite a bit. And it goes everywhere. I mean, it's in the MMA community. I mean, but to see how it's become in bodybuilding with people attacking each other, it's become, pretty wild to watch. But again, that's social media. That's rage bait. That's the rage baiting like Chris was talking about. It's much easier. Let's just be positive, dude. Let's just like root each other on and be happy for each other.
There's one page, I won't say his name, but he's always like posting videos of all these different people lifting and basically just shitting on their form and whatever. And there was one this young kid benched like 500 pounds and like, this is horrible. This is a horrible form. Like, does this rep even count? I'm like, and I commented on it, I was like, dude, I'm like, this kid was probably like working so hard to get to this. I'm like, why can't we just be happy for him? Like, that's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
It's just that's why, like, even when I'm at the gym, if I see like a younger kid that benches like 225 for the first time and he's all amped up, I will literally go over and I'll be like, hey, nice job, man, great lift.
Chris, I love that, because that's like that old school bodybuilding mentality. I was drawn to bodybuilding because the first gym I walked into, I'm like, wow, it was like a camaraderie. All the competitors trained at the same time, and everybody supported one another. There were no bad attitudes. Like, I think back, it was a really cool time. And now it's just like, let's just stare at each other a little bit. And also to go into the MMA community, my first day I walked in, I thought I was like going to be like pummeled, but everybody was so welcoming. Even to this day, I train at one of the biggest gyms in the world, and you're world champions, and anything I can help with, please let me help. You're doing a great job. Like, it's cool to see it. I just wish more people were like that in bodybuilding, because more people would flourish that way, and every pro was once an amateur at one time. We all have had our stupid moments when, we started as kids, or whenever we started lifting weights. Everybody's been there, so, but even like Chris said, that guy probably worked really hard to get to 500 pounds or whatever he did. And then even the Sam Sulek thing, people hate the kid. I don't hate the kid, and here's the reason why. He never really struck me as somebody that had an ego. At least I know from social media. He was just a kid that loved to lift weights, that makes a ton of money just lifting weights and posting videos of him talking to a camera, who happened to go to a show and get his pro card. Did he deserve it? That's a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, he still did it. Is it his fault that, the judging probably wasn't the best? Was it his fault that it was a weaker show? No. But he still did it, and the kid makes a ton of money, and now these kids look up to him. And for me, it's like, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Now, do I think it's fair that media outlets focus more on him than current bodybuilders that are going through the ranks? No, because that's what sparked my post weeks ago when Mike hit me up. So, it's social media has definitely changed things quite a bit. Not to go too off topic, but yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, because people love the negativity, over the positive things, because people don't. What made me fall in love with bodybuilding when I understood the culture, that it's deeper than just lifting weights. Bodybuilding is 24/7, depending on how serious you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, and those guys that are serious about it, like when you see certain guys in person, you're just like, damn, like, how do you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember being backstage at the Olympia just in awe of people competing in the show, men and women. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's years and dedication and sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not an easy thing to do and stay consistent with. It's just it's a respectable thing for me. Like, people who put the time and that effort in. Like, I understand and know what a leg day, what a real leg day feels like. And then once you heal again, it's leg day again, and then you got to do it again. Can you do that every week, every month, year after year? Hell no. Most people tap out after a couple months.
Yeah.
It's not even just 24/7 too. It's like, you're doing this year after year, but you're also growing and continuously improving year after year. That is also in itself incredibly challenging, because you have to keep pushing and pushing, and you can't slack off at all. And that right there is a huge challenge too. I mean, you could eat healthy, you could go to the gym and lift and stuff, but I made a post on my story the other day. I'm like, there's some people that go to the gym to lift, and there's ones that go to the gym to train, and there's a difference. When I go to the gym to train, it's like I'm trying to be better, and it's like I've been lifting now, 23 years.
Yeah, see, it's only been 14 for me, because after I stopped playing football in college, I didn't touch a weight from the time I was 20 years old till I was 27. You wouldn't catch me in a gym in that period. My life was a blur. I don't even remember. Couldn't even tell you what I did on a birthday. None of that in my 20s. You know what I mean? I found bodybuilding at the right time because I wouldn't have took nothing serious in my 20s.
Bodybuilding style, like training, like taking it serious like that, that's been about 14 or 15 years for me. But I mean, just trying to get bigger and, you know, not be 120 pounds anymore. I mean, that takes some time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think like what you said, Dom, is like the positivity. That was a big thing for me, like when I got into it, right? Like the gym that I went to when I first started, there were competitors. Everybody knew everybody at 4:30 at night, right? Like you saw the same people every day. Everybody was excited when somebody got stronger. The gym was there to root a big bench press on.
Yeah.
And I got that same feeling at the first shows I did. Like, you know, after prejudging, everybody was congratulating everybody. And it was like this community that was so positive that kind of took like I don't want to say like, you know, like just people who didn't necessarily know where they fit in the world. Like I definitely feel myself as that type of person. And like the bodybuilding community accepts everybody, right? Like we all just love to train. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, whatever, gay, straight, that shit doesn't matter. And the progress, like you said, Chris, is the fun part. The progress is the fun part. I didn't do my first NPC show. I think I got like 5th in light heavyweights, 4th in light heavyweights. And to me, that was fucking amazing. It wasn't like, oh shit, like I didn't fucking win. Like this sucks. I was like 4th place. Like this is crazy. Let me try and get like second or, you know, second next time, first next time.
Because you understand like what most people don't is things are a process. Like with what's wrong with this younger generation, they want everything last week.
They want
that's what social media tying in. They get that instant gratification.
Yeah, they don't want to put in no. You have some kids who come into jobs right now and they wonder why they're not making 6 figures, as if they're just supposed to walk in the door making 6 figures. It's like, nah, man, there's a thing called seniority. You don't even have no time in here, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to put some time in here. You got to get some, you know, some work in here. Most people don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I say too, man, shoot, you know, staying active the older we get is an extremely difficult thing, whether it's bodybuilding, MMA, basketball, ice hockey, like doing anything as an older adult is hard as fuck. You know what I mean? So I have a whole bunch of respect for us older guys who just like to do what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Damn it, Doug. I hate that you're calling me an older adult.
Man, look, let me tell you something.
I really hate
when
that.
you hit 30s.
Yeah.
Mike, how old are you?
35.
Oh, you're 30. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
you're still young.
Still young.
Me and Dougie are the elders there.
Yeah,
Mike's a baby on this podcast.
I'm on the back side of my 30s now.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm old as dirt. You know what I'm saying?
I turned 32 in June, but I started.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I just look a lot older.
Of all of us.
And look, and you're doing MMA now. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
But that's the thing. I'm getting older, so it's harder.
Yeah.
But like you just said, once you hit 30, it's like 28. I remember somebody telling me a long time, at 28, you're going to start feeling older. I'm like, no, not going to happen. And then it happened, and I still was in denial about it. And then I hit 30. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little more. Now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling older, but it's all good. You gotta go with it.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really start feeling that way until I was probably 39, and it was only a little bit. I mean, I'm 40.
Wait, Chris, how old are you? You're 40. Ah,
yeah.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah, we're
all up really well though. I mean, I'm still growing, progressing like crazy. Like it's. I'm lucky. I definitely have a genetic factor for longevity on my side. I think for sure.
Yeah, me, Chris, and Doug are all 40.
Yeah.
Oh, I really am the youngest here, but I look like one of the oldest. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
I didn't know how old you were. That the fact that you even knew who I was. I know who you are, and I'm just happy to this for me. This whole experience is super dope, man. When I got into bodybuilding, man, I just became a fan, a huge fan, and I just love the sport. So to be able to be on a podcast with you. You know what I'm saying? All the
Well, I
things you've
appreciate
done
it,
and
bro.
everything that you're doing now. That's what I'm saying. Like you're done bodybuilding, but you're still staying active. You know what I'm saying? Like, you found another
Yeah,
challenge to get good at. You know what I'm saying? And shoot, that's what life's about at the end of the day.
and that is what it's about. But yeah, I mean, and yes, of course I know who you. I've been following you for a while, and I know Morgan for a while too. I got a lot of respect for your coach. Morgan's a good dude. We talk quite a bit.
Sweet. That's
But
what's up, man.
aside from that too, like even just still being involved in bodybuilding. Like I said, my coaching, being able to look after my guys and watch the guys like you and the guys like you make me remember like when I was younger and when I see what did I see bodybuilding for what it is. And
Yeah.
that's what keeps me passionate too, is watching the guys like you, watching the guys like Mike, like Chris. Like I've been watching you guys and it's
Sweet.
refreshing to still see that. You know what I'm saying? Because on the other hand, most are not, following the ways that we came up with when
Yeah.
we were younger. So
Yeah.
Brendan, I haven't seen your competition pictures.
Yeah.
It's my first time meeting you, but if you're with these
Uh-huh.
guys, and it seems like you're in the same wavelength as
Yeah.
everybody. So,
That's
it's
humbling coming
refreshing.
from you. That's very humbling coming from you. And I graciously appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always different hearing, thoughts and opinions from fellow pros and people who do this as opposed to people in the gym. Not that I don't appreciate those other comments, you know what I'm saying? But that's very humbling coming from you. So I appreciate that. Thank you very
No,
much.
no problem, brother. No problem.
Yeah.
Dom and
So
I usually share a bunch of Soprano memes back and forth. That's
Yes,
we do all the time.
that's how we communicate. Soprano
Yeah.
memes.
That's dope.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about is like I don't want to talk about Bob and Nick. I've heard enough of that. I'm sick of turning on my phone and seeing Bob and Nick back and forth. But I do think it's interesting because it's not so negative. What are you guys' takes on what is his name? Ali? The one who
Oh,
won
the guy that won men's physique.
and what Arnold said. Do you think me personally, I don't think either of them are necessarily in the wrong. I just think it's kind of a unfortunate and somewhat of a miscommunication to some degree.
I think Arnold said that just because the era that he came up in, you know what I mean? With bodybuilding, it was only bodybuilding,
Yeah.
And I can see why men's physique being they draw a huge crowd, and probably a lot of money for that show. I can see where he was coming from as well. And my whole thing is it's the Arnold. It's the second prestigious bodybuilding show in the world. Like, why don't they have women's bodybuilding, women's physique? Why don't they have 212? You know what I mean? Like, if bodybuilding basically kind of catapulted Arnold's entire career that he's had, his whole legacy. And I would think that someone of his stature, I think, would recognize like, hey, the sport has evolved a little bit. And, with that, these are the other divisions that's drawing a lot of competitors. And I think it would be smart to at least have all those divisions there.
Yeah.
But I think too, people, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Arnold, people were attacking Arnold, saying he was like, why do they wear the shorts? He was commenting saying a lot of these guys have great legs. Why are they covering their legs? And when I heard that, I'm like, he's not taking a dig at these guys. He's saying, why are these guys wearing? And yes, Chris, he comes from bodybuilding where they were wearing Speedos, and now it's evolved into a thong. But it's for me, it was like he sounded like he was like crediting these guys, like, why are you making them wear shorts? Let them show their legs. And then people took that and said, Arnold hates physique and he doesn't like the short. So I took it a different way, but I'm also in agreement with you of why. Okay, you came from bodybuilding. Arnold, there was bodybuilding before any of these other classes.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they have of all classes, at least the 212? Why don't you have women's body? But why don't you have these other classes there anymore? And I think they're also, like Ali was saying, he wants them to up the prize money for physique. Didn't he say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they dropped it. I think it wasn't what it was last year.
Last year was 25. This year was 10.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I wonder where that came from. Is that class really drawing the money, or is it the opening classic? Because classic, C-Bum became a household name over the past few years. I remember the past few years, anywhere I talk to anybody outside of bodybuilding, do you know C-Bum? I'm like, these people like talking about him as if he's Arnold.
Yeah.
So I can see open and classic being the draws to the show. I don't know how much. Again, I don't know. So there's ignorance there too. I don't know how much of a draw physique really is to the show either.
I think it's still a draw enough to have it at the Arnold's. You see all these kids walking around with dark sport, and it's like dark sport's pretty much like attached to all the men's physique. And here's the other thing: it's his fucking show. Like, it's not like it's the Olympia, you got to qualify for it or anything like that. Like, he chose to have that category there. It's his show. He can determine how much he wants to put out for each category. It's not anyone else's call. And if he didn't respect that certain division, why the fuck would he have it there to begin with?
That's a very good point.
So I mean, you definitely make a good point, and the only thing I can add to that is I would feel a little bit slighted if the prize money went down this year, and if he took those comments the way he said. I understand where he comes from, you know what I'm saying, and other guys feel like they should follow suit. Arnold will just get rid of the category. Will it hurt the show? Maybe, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? I think that'll be determined in the future. But just like you said, Arnold's a little older than my dad. So most old guys like that are fixated in their ways. They think how they think. And times were way, way different back then. Like, we do live in a sensitive society. And Dom, I didn't even think of that perspective until you said that. You know what I'm saying? Because I did hear him say that. And that makes perfect sense. He really wasn't taking a shot at him. You know what I'm saying? He really was saying, like, maybe come up with another idea to display your legs.
I think he was just like, put him in boxer briefs or something.
Or maybe have, you have different portions of the show. I mean, I was told men's physique is really like modeling. You know what I'm saying? So you can have them guys maybe have two different type of shorts. One that shows off their legs and ones that have them in board shorts.
That's back in the day when figure was going on. They had the two-piece rounds.
Yeah, and that's just
right.
me. That's just me thinking off top of my head, like, if you really want to spice it up and make it a little different, because that's the Arnold. You know what I'm saying?
Men's physique, they used to have much baggier board shorts when it first started.
They did.
Now they're very tight and slim fitting, so you can actually see.
So it's evolved.
I wouldn't be surprised in a few years it evolves and the shorts get a little shorter.
Yeah.
Like bike shorts or something.
But we understand too, the IFBB is a business, and at the end of the day, they're always trying to grow and expand because it's going to bring more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. In this generation, if a bodybuilder showed up to a national and there were 60 dudes in his class, there would be 30 of them that would walk home. Like, literally, they would be like, all of you guys are in my class. Like, that's the type of generation we live in. We don't live in a generation where kids are like, they're not deterred by that. I don't give a fuck if there's 60 or I'm the best one. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't have that mindset and mentality anymore. It's like, oh my God, there's 60 people here. But
not for somebody in their 20s, but for people like us, we get it because we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
There's a level of professionalism. Even as an amateur, you still have to. At least that's what I do. I carry myself like a pro would. I'm not, you know what I mean? Because I've always been like, okay, like, if you want to be a pro, you have to do what pros do. And I think being a good ambassador for the sport and not giving bodybuilding any sort of negative attention. I mean, it's something I'm in control of every single day. Like, I'm not going to be people in the gym. I'm not going to, be like scoff at some person or whatever. Like, even when people look at me and laugh in the gym, I'm not going to sit there and cause a scene and get mad. I'm just going to continue what I'm doing.
Well, Chris, you brought up a very good point, because the judges see that. I know that for a fact, because I had a conversation with 2 judges last year. I had a client who was posting very reckless stuff on Instagram, like Boston Lloyd type stuff, times 5. And I remember asking one judge, I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts if somebody was doing X, Y, and Z? And he's like, well, we want people to be good representations of what we're doing. He goes, there are younger people who are looking up to these guys, and pro or not, people see that stuff. And how can, we want somebody to turn pro that's putting stuff out there that's completely, dangerous. Or, like you just said, Chris, being completely disrespectful to people. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, should the right man win? Yes, of course. The person on the day, yes, with the physique. But also, at the end, they have to be a good representation of, not only the organization, but the industry as a whole. Because somebody turns pro, you have kids and young guys looking at them like, fuck, that guy turns pro, I want to be like that guy. How has he conducted himself and represented himself? And they're going to try to. I did that when I was a kid. I saw how, Kai Green was. I watched all these guys. I watched Jay. I'm like, how are they, especially Jay? I'm like, how are these guys publicly? How are they, even though we didn't have much social media back then? First it was MySpace, and then it was Facebook. I'm like, how are these guys, what are they posting? I'm like, wow. And then you would see their MD videos and their RX videos. But the judges absolutely see this stuff. I mean,
even if I got my ass kicked at a show, which I've had my ass handed to me, many times, I'm still going to make a post with pictures. I'm still going to thank the judges. I'm going to thank the promoters. I'm going to thank everyone that made the show possible. I mean, that's just being respectful.
You do it because you love this sport. I swear, I tell everybody that, be like, because I'm sure you've heard this, and I've had so many people, I'm gonna do a bodybuilding show, I'd be like, man, you gotta really like doing this shit, dog. This ain't some shit you just do because you see somebody else doing it. Like, it's gotta be in you or it ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no half step in this shit, in my opinion.
I had a client years ago, maybe back in 2015 or 16 or something. And he got second place in men's physique, and it was very controversial. And he was upset naturally. And he was on social media right afterwards and was just like, the judges are retards. And I called him and I'm like, take it the fuck down now. I'm going to not work with you anymore if you keep that up. I go, the judges will see this. Trust me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I ain't never seen shit like that.
Whether we agree with the call or
that person.
Yeah, I was like, I know you're upset right now. I know you're in your feelings and everything, but I'm like, you can't post that. They will see that, and like, trust me, they'll remember that. And like, the last thing you want is a judge remembering you for just being a negative Nancy because you didn't get the placing you wanted.
Yeah,
that's true. You had to conduct. I had a client long time ago. The guy was a real gangster. I mean, true. I mean, he was as gangster
he was a real gangster.
No, and that's exactly what he was for most of his life. And he did a show, and he placed second. He called the promoter, ripped the promoter about it. Promoter calls me. This is a long time ago. I remember thinking, like, oh my God, I was young at the time too. I'm like, how the hell do I handle this? Thank God it was back in Brooklyn. The promoter was like, Dom, he's like, I know you have nothing to do with this. He goes, what's with this guy? And he tells him, I'm like, and I call, this guy's name was Benny who competed. I'm like, Benny, you really can't. He goes, I don't give a fuck. He goes, it shouldn't go like this. I'm like, you have the physique to turn pro. I'm like, this isn't really what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So now adding social media to the mix and, always conducting yourself as a professional, respectful human being, it goes a long way. Not only with the judges, but like I said, people watching, people who want to be fans of you one day, you don't even have to be a pro to have fans and followers. People look up to certain individuals on social media. And like I tell people, you could be a really good role model you never know who you can inspire. So
yeah,
it's very important.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, gentlemen, actually, one more question for Dom. What is completely changing subjects? What's the best TV show you've watched in the last 6 months?
I'm gonna be honest. It's The Sopranos.
Yes.
He
Chris
said,
called
"I'm gonna
it.
be honest. It's The
Chris
Sopranos."
called it.
Dude, it will never change. It will never change. I will probably watched it 30 something times over and over. I actually just late last year, my fiance, she never saw. I'm like, we're watching this. And she was hooked. She's still hooked.
Yeah.
But for me, that will always be maybe because I watched it very young, but that will always be my favorite TV
I
show.
just watched that. What is the movie? I think it's called The Irish. Is that right?
The Irishman.
Irishman.
That's
Yeah.
it. The Irishman. Yeah.
It's
That's great.
that one. It was good. I mean, I think it was a little drawn out, but
I
it
was
was
just
good.
gonna say that. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, fuck. I saw like the timeline. I'm like, fucking 3 hours and 20
Yeah,
minutes.
that was
long.
long. That was
I'm like,
long.
cool. Because like I'm a UPS driver by like trade right now, and it's just like the whole Jimmy Hoffa and like that's what drew me into it. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, I can get behind this, the whole union kind of deal. And
Mhm.
Are you?
I
Are
couldn't
you a
believe how
James?
many I couldn't believe how many stars were in that movie.
Well, that's what was cool about it. Plus, too, making them all that here they are. You watch them in Goodfellas a long time ago, and now here they are old. You have Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, all these guys together. It was
Yeah.
cool, but it was a little drawn out. But are you a James Gandolfini fan?
Yeah.
So, did you ever see the movie The Drop?
Oh, good movie. That's with Tom Hardy as well, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's
Yes,
a
so
good movie.
great movie. It's not the most elaborate, but it was actually filmed in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. And James Gandolfini is one of the stars, and Tom Hardy. It's not action packed, but it's got a cool storyline to it. So you definitely check that out.
It's called The Drop.
The
Yeah,
Drop.
The Drop.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'm about to watch it.
I love The Sopranos so much because how Tony Soprano is as a father, that is exactly how my dad was growing up. So I watched that show, and I'm just like, it was that one scene where he's like, "Oh, I work hard with a 6,000 square foot house and video games and scooters to come home to this," and AJ is like, "Sucks to be you." And I remember I did something like that to my dad. I said, "Sucks to be you," and I got a backhand. And my dad was like, "We're starting a new regime around here," and that's exactly what Tony says in the show. And I'm just like, wow, Plus, I used to watch the show with my dad all the time, and I'm on season 5 right now. Currently, I probably
How
watched
many seasons are there?
6.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I've seen bits and pieces, but I've never watched from beginning to end.
Yeah,
Doug,
this is like
when
my
you
130th time, I think.
and you'll never stop watching it, Doug. When you first started, you'll be like, this is okay. Because the way it was filmed, the outfits, or you may love the first episode, but you'll slowly and you'll notice as the episodes go on, the film quality gets better, the quality of everything, because they started having more money behind it, and every season just gets better and better and better. Yeah,
I know
it's
it's
something.
a classic, so I'm gonna check
Actually,
it out.
one of the characters on The Sopranos, I'm actually friends with in real life because his name's Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name right now. Oh my God, Ron Castellano.
Yeah.
So he played Terry Doria in that show.
Teddy. Yeah.
So, and I did business with him just when I've been working for High Tech selling supplements. He used to own Nutrition Zone Rockaway in New Jersey. So I used to go and see him, and he was on that show as a character and stuff. So it's a cool, it's a damn good show. I highly recommend.
I'm gonna have to. So I'm like you, Doug. I've only ever seen like bits and pieces. I've never watched it all the way through. So I know what I got to start this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
It's worth the time investment.
And like just character development, every individual character development is it's so in depth, and it's wicked good.
And you get to see everybody as the kids get older. You get to see everybody grow, and you get upset at certain points. It has a lot of emotions behind it. The more you get into it, you don't really see that with TV shows today either.
Yeah. I found it hard to find good TV shows lately. There's so many too. Like I don't even know where to start sometimes.
Honestly, I don't watch because of that show. It's very hard for me. Like I've watched The Wire, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad was pretty good.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was good. Yeah,
that one was very good. Sons of Anarchy was great. Other than that,
I haven't caught that one either. That's another one I gotta watch.
Yo, you gotta
Very
definitely
good.
watch that.
Everybody says it. I barely watch TV. I watch sports and I'll start watching series. And I like documentaries. I love documentaries.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah.
I like the crime.
Did you ever watch the
documentaries
Mayans?
are good.
I never saw them. I couldn't get into the Mayans for some reason.
It was actually pretty good.
Was it? I tried it. I couldn't get into it. I don't know. Then again, I didn't really give it a chance either. So
yeah, give it a chance. You probably like it.
I tried to rewatch The Wire because I loved it so much.
Yeah, The Wire. When I watched it, it was good.
It's not like this day and age. The rewatchability isn't as good.
Yeah.
Like some of it's kind of. I was like, man, I don't know if this holds up as well. Some parts were kind of corny. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
There was a new one that came out. Robert De Niro's in it. I think it's like 0 Day or Day Zero or something. It's a limited series. That was actually phenomenal.
It's a show?
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one.
If you're into conspiracy theories with what's going on now, you will love this show.
I don't know if I can deal with it in my heart. You know what movies I used to love that I can't watch anymore is like the ones where like the world turns into anarchy or post-apocalyptic or the downfall of a government. Like I cannot watch those shows or movies anymore because I'm like, this shit kind of hits too close to home right now.
You're like it's any day now. It's coming.
Yeah.
Mike, did you ever see? I think it was Don't Look Up.
Oh,
yes.
Yep.
It's one of those types of movies. Yeah,
100%.
It was like, damn, this could be pretty real.
Yeah. I can't do them. And they used to be like my favorite type of movie. I love that like post-apocalyptic downfall of a country.
Mike's like, damn, man, like I used to love Armageddon.
You took the whole genre from me.
Well, because back then it was so far-fetched, and then like that movie that just came out, Civil War.
Yeah,
you know,
bro.
I'm like, the only thing that makes I'm like, there's no fucking way California would team up with Texas, but I'm like, this ain't too far off.
that would be like the craziest team up ever. Like the clashing of two different seas, California and Texas.
I don't think it would happen, but
I don't think it would happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it would happen either. Man, but it's past 10 o'clock Eastern time.
I had to stay on because it's not too often I get opportunity to get these in. I ain't want to miss, but I appreciate you fellas.
It was good talking to you guys.
No, thank you for coming on, man. It was awesome.
Yes,
I appreciate you having me on. Seriously, it was a good time.
Yes, indeed.
I don't know where Luke went.
Luke's out of here.
That's something to avoid.
That was funny, Tom. The day that you put up that post, and then Mike messaged you, and I messaged you. I'm like, and then I messaged Mike. I'm like, yo, we gotta have fucking Dom on. I'm like,
yeah.
Like,
that's dope, man. That's dope. You came on. Graciously appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And it's funny you talk about that post. Some people didn't like that post, but I don't want to hear about Wes Watson and this and that. And like, let's talk about bodybuilding. Like, well, let's bullshit like we did about and share stories and stuff,
Yeah.
That's really what it's supposed to be about. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
For sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody. Everybody have a good night.
Likewise, y'all too.
You as
well.
See you, fellas.
I'm about to go do.
All right. Have a good night.
Later, guys.